for many of us grassroots movements in the South, equity is such a central concern in how to address, well, climate change in general and the energy transition in particular. First, because it's a matter of acknowledging the reality of inequality in our world. There is inequality not just in how nations and people have contributed to the climate change. There is inequality in terms of the impacts because there's other conditions that surround us that matter in terms of how climate change impacts you. And it's also an acknowledgement that there should be a fair way of solving this problem that acknowledges these inequalities. So if you have countries that contribute the most to the problem, have much bigger capacity to address the problem, then it just is a matter of principle to say, then they should have a bigger share of the burden of solving this problem. And that is part of what, a very much important part of it is the phase out of fossil fuels and the energy transition. But we're also speaking as a matter of practicality. The math will not add up if the countries that contribute the most to the problem do not do a proportionate share of the solution. We will not arrive at the solution. We will not be able to keep temperature rise below 1.5 degrees. So much as we have a problem with the US, with Trump not wanting to participate in the solution for climate change, I think as global citizens, we have a kind of urgent push and duty to campaign that the US become part of the solution. So, you know, we're all looking at the national elections that are coming in the US in a few weeks, is it? And so that's something that all citizens in the world are, you know, have huge stake in. The other thing is it's very important to have international cooperation efforts like this campaign, because from the point of view of campaigners in the South, unless it's something that's being discussed internationally, it's very difficult to get our governments to talk about these things. So it really helps us in campaigning on the ground if these issues are being discussed internationally, in order to open wider the doors and opportunities for us to have direct conversations with our governments about these issues. But it also, of course, works vice versa. You need this push from below in order to get governments internationally to open up. But there's also some very important things to stress on this. There's the psychology of governments. They're not going to do anything about something if they don't see others doing something, right? I mean, there's this kind of need to show that we're not just demanding this of you. It is a demand for all governments. And if they can see that there's, what we call first movers moving forward, then we can use that as leverage to push harder for governments to open up to this kind of initiative.